being recorded, and let's reward everyone who came on time. Hello, everyone. It's great to have you on tonight to talk about something that's unbelievably critically important for animals. I am excited to have two guests here who really don't actually need much of an introduction, especially people that are in New York, knowing Allie Taylor, who is the president of Voters for Animal Rights, one of my personal heroes in this movement. Thank you so much for joining. And then, of course, Leah Garces, good friend who used to sit in my seat here at Compassion World Farming and used to run Mercy for Animals. Thank you so much, Leah, for coming on. And for everyone who doesn't know me, my name is Matthew Dominguez. I'm the U.S. Executive Director for Compassion World Farming, and you're here to talk about the Save Our Bacon language in the Farm Bill. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So, Leah, what the hell is the Save Our Bacon Act? What is this language that we're talking about?
Okay, so here's what happened. It's very dramatic. If we go back to Prop 12, which was in 2018, this banned all cages and crates in the sale of products in the state of California. Now, the industry didn't like that, so they sued. They lost. They appealed. It went to the Supreme Court. We had it upheld, and we thought game over. Wrong. They found a backdoor entrance through the Farm Bill and they snuck it in. They paid lobbyists, they donated to politicians, and now we have something called Save Our Bacon Act in the House version of the Farm Bill. That happened last Thursday. We did not expect it to. We didn't think it was going to happen that fast, which is why we've got urgency and a bit of a scramble now. Now it goes into the Senate. And let me explain what Save Our Bacon Act would do. It would eradicate decades of work, decades of animal welfare laws that many people who are on this call have fought for. And it would also put farmers who are trying to do it better at an unfair disadvantage against industrial animal agriculture. And it would wipe out a bunch of other laws, which I think Allie is going to talk about, that are really relevant to the fight you've had in New York. So now it goes to the Senate. The Senate writes its own version of the Farm Bill. And our chance is here. This is like our best chance. It goes to the Senate Ag Committee first. And in the Senate Ag Committee, there are approximately 24 senators that actually write the bill. And we are lobbying those senators hard to not include Save Our Bacon in the Farm Bill, but we are asking all senators to say no to a farm bill that includes Save Our Bacon Act. Is that a good summary, Matt?
That's great. And I know that a lot of it sometimes can get into the weeds. And I know there's a lot of information about there, but just know this is an incredibly important thing that we need to work on. And Allie, I mean, we're having this town hall tonight, and I know that there are a lot of people on, and we specifically asked people in New York to join us. Why New York? Like, why does this matter here in our state?
Yeah. Hey, I'm coming to you all from Brooklyn, which is Chuck Schumer's home borough. And this is so incredibly important because New York tends to be a leader on what happens in the rest of the country. And so, for one, Chuck Schumer is the minority leader of the United States Senate, which is one of the most powerful positions in the country. And depending on how the midterm elections go, he could eventually once again be the majority leader. He In either position, he has an incredible amount of power in deciding what the party does and doesn't support, and also how hard they push those fights. So we need him to take this very seriously. Here in New York City, he kind of acts like he's got us in lock, right? Super progressive here. He's got his seat. He's safe. But we need to be sending him a message that that's definitely not the case. Yes, he's been in office for over 25 years, but he needs to feel the heat on the EATS Act and on the Save Our Bacon Act and make this a true priority. So to that end, he does live in Brooklyn in Park Slope, and those of you who live in the neighborhood probably see him around. It's not uncommon for people to go up to him and let him know what their priorities are. So if you live in the neighborhood, feel free to let him know. But the way that this would impact New York would be catastrophic. Harvard's animal law program has done the research, and they found around a dozen laws that already exist in New York that would just be completely wiped out if this passes. The biggest threat would be the existing New York City foie gras ban, which this is the largest city in the country that has a foie gras ban besides the entire state of California. And while, yes, the foie gras ban is still going through the legal process, since it's been challenged in court, regardless of what happens with that, if the EATS Act or Save Our Bacon Act were to pass, that would be completely nullified. When the foie gras ban passed in New York City, we saw a ripple effect across the country in that now there's lots of other cities that are also introducing foie gras bans. All of that would be gone overnight, done. The puppy mill bill that many of us on this call worked on that prohibits the sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits in pet stores, gone. So what we do here in New York not only matters to our statewide laws, but it also matters in the fact that Chuck Schumer has the power to take action and to lead on this, but he really needs to hear from all of us.
Yeah, he's Senate minority leader, and after the elections, if he becomes the majority leader, I mean, what he says goes, and the party typically follows, especially in the Senate. And so getting Chuck Schumer to oppose the EATS or Save Our Bacon Act language in the Farm Bill could essentially make sure that this doesn't pass. I mean, this is why every one of you on this call that live in New York, the magnitude of your advocacy is probably a multiplier of 100 compared to somebody, say, living in Kansas. Not that it's not important for other people in other states to reach out to their senators, but critically important is folks here in New York. And Allie, you and I worked on the bill to ban the sale of foie gras in New York City. And I think about the countless hours, the hundreds and hundreds of hours that all of the advocates spent lobbying, protesting, holding up signs, going to hearings, testifying, contacting city council members would be gone. All of that work would be for naught. And we have to protect these hard-won efforts that we've done. Alex, I know I asked you if you could put on the screen. I think it's important to show folks just how many laws are at stake here that go beyond animal welfare, if you want to throw those up. And then Leah, I'm going to pass it over to you and I'm going to ask the question, who the hell's behind this? Who's pushing this? First, actually, here are the laws that we're looking at. So Harvard Animal Law Program did a study. Look at this, scroll it. It's 600 plus laws. You're everything from disease prevention to animal welfare to zoonotic disease to food safety to agricultural laws. It goes on and on and on, the laws that would be nullified by this dangerous language. And it goes to show just how reckless the people that Leah is going to tell you that's behind it are when they're putting language into a bill that has this level of catastrophic impact. So Alex, thanks for showing that. Leah, over to you. Who's behind this and why are they pushing this dangerous language? Leah, you're on mute.
You know, you'd think this would be something I've got now, but oh well. Okay, so here's the deal. When I said Prop 12 passed and the industry was pissed and they didn't like it, when I say the industry, there is one conglomerate that really, this one group called the National Pork Producers Council. So they are the main council of pork producers. But really, it's one big company called Smithfield. And Smithfield is the largest pork producer in the country, and it represents about 25% of the pork that you see in the grocery store. But the real question is, who owns Smithfield? Smithfield is owned by WH Group, and WH Group is in China. It is a Chinese company. And actually, this acquisition of Smithfield to WH Group represented the largest acquisition of a Chinese company acquiring an American company in history. It is massive. So what we're seeing now is essentially there is a Chinese government pulling the strings, a Chinese conglomerate that's pulling the strings in our government. And they are paying lobbyists, they are making political donations through Smithfield, through the National Pork Council, Producers Council, and they are having a unbelievable impact. They are trying to override state already approved decisions so that it can benefit and profit a company where the entire board sits in China.
It's when you really start to dig into this and go down the rabbit hole, it's absolutely disgusting to think about these corporations and the power that they have over democracy. But speak to this a little bit more. I mean, we talked about Prop 12 being a ballot measure. What is this? How does this impact voters' rights, and how does this impact states' rights moving forward?
Yeah. I mean, it would override a state decision. So Prop 12 was passed in 2018 with a 63% majority. That's actually massive for a state ballot. That is huge. And this was something we all worked on. Like people who are on this call were knocking on doors. People in California voted for this. Then we did it in Massachusetts as well. So Massachusetts also passed a similar law. So these are laws that we have worked on, that we have passed, and they're the state laws that have been shown in the New York slide too. These are all things that voters decided. Voters put these politicians in their positions. That's who the politicians should be answering to. But instead, we have them answering to corporations, answering, in fact, to a corporation whose board is based in China. That is absolutely not okay. That is unbelievable corporate capture at the worst possible level. So it's overriding the state abilities to protect farmed animals and for farmers to compete freely and fairly in a market, but also just in generally it's eroding our democracy. So it's beyond just protecting farmed animals, which is what we care about so much. It's also about protecting democracy.
Yeah, one thing that I find particularly interesting, and now it's important to note that this is not necessarily on party lines. There are a tremendous number of Republicans and Democrats that are opposed to this. In fact, we do know in the House that if our amendment that was authored by Representative Luna, who is a staunch conservative Republican in Florida, if it got to the floor and we had a chance to vote on the amendment to strip this language out, we would have won because we had the votes. But I can't help but think about the hypocrisy of a handful of Republicans and a handful of Democrats that are supporting this language, and yet it was my understanding that the Republican Party was the party of states' rights, and yet they want to take away a state's rights to pass laws. This is, I mean, this is just it's not only ridiculous but incredibly dangerous. So. Now, for everyone that's on the call, I think the reason we asked you all here today is not only to be able to inform you a little bit about what's going on, because I will tell you over the course of the next 4 weeks while we're fighting this, there's going to be ups and there's downs, and there's ups and there's downs. We will probably tell you that the vote's coming up in a week, and then it could change to a day, and then it could change to a month, and then it could be recessed. Legislation is very difficult to know exactly what's going to happen. But the situation we're in is we need people to act quickly. And so this is the important part here is, and Alex, if you could throw it up on the screen, Leah, what can people do? Everyone on this call, we need you to take action. What are the things that they can do tonight, tomorrow, the rest of this week, and for the rest of this month to make sure that this dangerous language is not included in the Farm Bill?
I'm sorry, it's like automatically muting me for some reason. And then when the screen, just ignore me. I'm just like an old person, like fuddling around. Anyway, so someone put in the chat, which was the right question, should I call every day? Yes, is the answer. Yes. You can call twice a day. You can call 3 times a day. Here's the information. New York is focused on Schumer for all the amazing reasons that Ali just said, because of the influence of the senator there and how he could sway the whole party right now. So, what you need to do is you need to call Schumer's office and you can read this script and you can write an email after you do that. And one of the things we're asking people to do is keep doing it until you get the answer we want. And the answer we want is a public commitment to say no to a farm bill that includes save our bacon language. So I'll just repeat that. Keep doing it until you get a public announcement from your senator that says, I will vote no on the farm bill if it includes the save our bacon language. So that's redlining. That's saying I will not vote for this at all. That's probably the simplest way to express it and to keep going. And it doesn't matter. Some people ask, for example, what if I leave a message? Does it matter? Does anybody ever listen to those messages? They actually do. They have to record those messages. It's required. And the more volume we get into the offices, the higher it goes up in their priority list of things they cannot negotiate on. So the Farm Bill is this massive, massive, massive document, and there's 1,000 things in there, and they're looking for things to trade with each other during the final negotiations. We want to make sure this is one of the things that they say we are not trading on, we will not compromise on. So you just need to call every single day until you get an answer in writing, publicly, from your senator saying, I will vote no on a farm bill unless if it contains the Save Our Bacon language.
It's incredibly important. Calling every single day until we get that commitment. I think it's important to note two things. One, these people are elected to represent your best interests and to represent the things that you care about. And I'm pretty sure everyone in New York, if you were to ask them, should a pig be able to stand up, turn around, and extend their limb? Everyone would say yes, because that's what it is. I mean, Leah, speak to that. Prop 12, what is the language that we got passed in California?
Yeah, Prop 12 was the banning of all cages and crates. So I'm not just talking about gestation crates for mother pigs or one thing. It's gestation crates for mother pigs, which are these horrific crates where mother pigs cannot even turn around or lay down comfortably. It's also battery cages at all for hens, and it's veal crates. So it's all the crates, all the cages. And then on top of that, California, for the first time ever, they passed a law in the United States that said you also can't sell those products if they come from those systems in our state. And at the time, this was the highest law passed anywhere in the world. No other country or state at the time had passed a law that not just banned the terrible practice, but also banned the sale of those products in the state. So that's what's at stake here. And we were setting the bar for the rest of the states. And that's why the pork industry is so scared of it, because we knew what we were doing. This is a big state. This is a huge state. It has a lot of consumers who eat a lot of bacon, and they knew this is going to force the hand of the rest of the country. So protecting it is critical. It's absolutely critical.
And when they took this to federal court and state court, and it got all the way up to the Supreme Court at a time that the court has never been probably more conservative at this particular moment in protecting the federal government from doing really whatever it wants, it upheld Prop 12. It upheld Prop 12 and said California, absolutely, California, Massachusetts, and about the other 8 to 10 other states that have similar laws on gestation crates, that they have a right to say, I do not want products coming in from this extreme cruelty. It also sets the stage for, if we lose this opportunity, it prevents us from being able to do more laws in the future, which is obviously what they're afraid of as well. It is incredibly important that people make phone calls. Alex, if you want to put on there again, so what else can people do? I mean, there's a few other things we need people to do. So Alex, if you want to put that slide up.
Someone is asking, is there a phone number people can call if they don't know who their senator is? So there is a main switchboard number. If you go on Matt's Instagram, my Instagram, probably Allie's Instagram, I'm not sure, but I know Matt and I at least are posting the main switchboard phone number on our Instagram, and you can call that number. And when you call that, that's the Capitol switchboard. Maybe Alex, you could put it in the chat, but when you call that number, it will bring you to a person and you just say, this is my zip code. I am from X state. And then they will say, okay, you want to speak to, you say, I want to speak to my senator. And then they will switch you over. They will send you to that senator. You don't have to do anything else. It's one number for the Capitol switchboard for all the senators. And all you have to do is say where you're from. And then they will just ping you over like magic to the correct place. Should New Yorkers heavily target Gillibrand? Sorry. Go ahead, Allie.
I just posted a link in the chat that's super simple to remember. It's just vfar.org/eats2026. It's on the slide as well. And that's really easy way to look up who your rep is.
Yep. And one thing it's important to note, the changing of this, it actually goes to show just how desperate they are. So let's go back over a decade ago. This is not the first time we've had to fight against this. I don't know if many of you remember Representative Steve King from Iowa, one of my least favorite members of Congress that has ever served. And a terrible friend to animals, someone who's tried to do more harm than nearly any person in Congress. It was originally the King Amendment that he tried to pass through the Farm Bill and failed. And then it turned into the EATS Act, which has failed. And now, using clever wordage, and I don't think I've actually said the word bacon so many times in my life over the course of the last couple of weeks. It's now the Save Our Bacon Act. So if you hear EATS, if you hear Save Our Bacon, and then also in the script, there's discussion on there around Section 12006, which is the portion of the House bill that has the Save Our Bacon Act language. So the best thing to do for members of Congress at this moment, because we're in the building having conversations with them, it's the Save Our Bacon Act language in the Farm Bill that we're asking people to strip out. So what we have here is we need you to make phone calls to Schumer's office. We need you to call his district office. We need you to call his office in DC. We need you to go to all of the action alerts that we showed and take action there. We need you to send emails. The other thing that we're asking you to do is follow Leah, follow myself on Instagram, follow Voters for Animal Rights, follow Compassion and World Farming US. When you see us post, these are the most important updates that are currently happening for animals right now. We need you to share them. We need you to comment. We need you to like them. We need you to like other people's comments. We need you to engage with the post because the algorithms push that up, and that's how we get our message further and further out. Leah, I've seen a couple of your videos go pretty viral discussing
Yours
this.
too.
And it's been wonderful. I mean, the impact of it has been great. I mean, I know that a few people have reached out to you that would otherwise not even know about this.
Same to you. And I did a post maybe yesterday, which was trying to get people from Minnesota and Georgia on a similar town hall to this. I live in Georgia, so I'm rallying folks in Georgia. So you might see us post about particular states because there's a rationale, there's a senator we're targeting that's critical. So you don't have to be from that state, but you could tag someone you know from that state. So you might know somebody in Georgia, you might know somebody in Minnesota, and you can tag them, you can send it, you could broadcast it on your social media, you can email people, or you can just cut and paste the thing and say, hey, you should be engaged on this. It's really, really important.
Allie, is there anything else people can do? And also, you and I have been working in New York City in the city council for a long time. You've been pushing the political stuff for animals for longer than people knew that we needed to do this. I mean, you've really been such a leader on this. How many times have you seen someone change their vote because just a handful of constituents? So what would you tell someone who's like, well, other people are reaching out, other people are calling, I don't need to do this?
I would never just, it's kind of like when you see an animal in the wild or wherever you are that's injured and you say, oh, someone else will take care of it. No, it's the same thing here. You are the person that has to make that call, just like you were the person that has to save the kitten on the side of the road. No one else that you can depend on to do it. And politicians get very spooked easily. Sometimes just like 3 phone calls to their office and they're like, oh my God, I'm getting so much pressure from my constituents. And it's all just perception, right? So constantly making phone calls every single day will have an incredible impact on them. The other thing is that God forbid this does actually happen. We don't want to look back and say that, we could have tried harder or we could have done more because we are, excuse my language, like we're royally screwed if this thing gets passed. Like octopus bill, there'll be no reason for us to work on that because our state wouldn't be allowed to pass a no octopus farming bill if this happens. So not to scare everybody, but yes, also to scare you.
No, I think we need to scare people. We need to understand the urgency of this. It has been said over and over again that this is the meteor headed towards Earth. And I know if any of you are watching my videos and seen Leah or I on podcasts talking about this, not only is this the most critical thing you can do, if there is anything you do for animals this year, it is taking action. It is taking the actions that Leah talked about. It's calling their offices. It's sending emails. It's posting on social media. It's doing all this. And when you post on social media, make sure you tag Chuck Schumer in it as well so that their staff can see it. And Allie, you're absolutely right. I mean, you and I have worked on this for a long time. We've seen people change their votes just because a handful of constituents. Because I can tell you one thing, the pork industry, the NPPC may have a lot of money. They may have a lot of lobbyists, but there's a reason why the title of this town hall is The People versus Big Pork, because we have the numbers. We have people that care about this issue. They don't. I can assure you that these senators and that these representatives, they're not getting phone calls from constituents unless they're members of the NPPC. Otherwise, it's animal advocates and it's people that care about this issue that they're getting calls from. We have to overwhelm them with numbers when it comes to the contacts. So, Alex, I know that a lot of people have been posting questions, so maybe it's a good time to turn it over to some questions. I don't know what would be best to answer those. Maybe you want to come off mute and ask a few.
Yeah, so one person earlier asked for some clarification around the Save Our Bacon Act. Since poultry aren't considered livestock, are cage-free laws directly threatened by the Save Our Bacon Act?
Absolutely. So I know we've been talking a lot about crates when it comes to gestation crates, and I'm sure that everyone here knows what a gestation crate is, but just in case, it is a 2 foot by 6 foot metal and concrete enclosure. It's a prison for mother pigs where they're trapped for basically their entire life, where they can't stand up, turn around. We know that this is the primary focus of the NPPC to make sure that this remains legal. But this particular language in the Farm Bill would essentially nullify nearly all farm animal protection laws and ones that have sales bans. Again, the foie gras ban in New York City would be nullified. Any state that has passed octopus bans on factory farming of octopus, and if it has a sales component, will be nullified. So yes, this would impact cages, crates, and anything else we try to do. And this is the camel's nose under the tent. You think they're going to stop here? You think they're just going to stop with this type of language? If they win this, they're going to go after more and they're going to go after more. This is the hard line in the sand that we need to make clear, that we are not going to allow the federal government to come in and preempt the hard work that we have done on the state level, because we do know the federal government refuses to do anything for farm animals on the federal side.
Another question from the chat is, how does the pork and cage issue impact puppy mills and the other efforts? I don't understand.
Happy to take that. So one of the things that we've been talking about, so Alex, if you don't have to show it again, but we showed that list of laws that were it basically at jeopardy here. There's over 600 laws that the Harvard Animal Law Program have identified as potentially being nullified by this. What we're saying is that we don't fully know the impact of this. And I can assure you that they're saying that, well, no, it would only take out Prop 12, or it would only take out question 3. But the vagueness of the language is incredibly concerning. There is no reason to believe that if this law gets in front of a court that is not favorable to animals, that they will expand the breadth of it, that they will interpret it to include literally any animal welfare law in any state that protects animals. We can't take the chance. Now, they're not being honest about what this law will impact. I mean, it took Harvard Animal Law Program to put forward to Congress these laws that were going to be at jeopardy. And we cannot take the chance that puppy mill laws, that octopus bans, foie gras bans, cages, crates are not also going to be included in this. So it's about being extra careful to make sure that we don't lose ground on all these other issues.
Yeah, another question from the group is, what are the odds that this section of the bill will or will not pass right now?
Leah, you want to take that?
So the odds are we don't know. And that's why we have to fight like we're losing, like we're gonna lose. We did not expect last week for this to be done and dusted in the House, and it is. And now that's a binary decision. It's yes or no. And we're going into the same situation with the Senate. So right now, our main effort is to try to make sure it never gets out of the Senate Ag Committee at all. That's where we're putting a lot of effort. And what we understand is it could, as early as before Memorial Day, be completed in the Senate Ag Committee. And then the Senate Ag Committee then goes to the Senate to be voted on the floor. We do not want Save Our Bacon in the Senate version. We do not want it to be in there. That would be still there. That doesn't mean it's over, by the way, because you can bet that the lobbyists will still try to do amendments and do some kind of deal to get it back in there. But once it's out of the Senate Ag Committee, we're in a better position. We are in a bad position right now because the only version of the Farm Bill that exists and has been voted on by our representatives has the Save Our Bacon language in it. And we never would have expected that. So if I had to say, like, I can't give you a percentage. I just know we're in a bad situation. I didn't expect to be in this situation, but we are. And, you know, the way this countries working right now, like how many times have we all said, that's not going to happen? And then it freaking does. We have to prepare for the worst.
That's exactly right. I mean, we have to fight like this is I mean, this is an uphill battle. We have to fight this like we have no chance. But I can tell you, I have seen the animal welfare community come together and do extraordinary things. I think that if you would have talked to anyone and said, would you be able to pass Prop 12 10 years before it happened, or Question 3, or banning foie gras in New York City, or any of the great work that we have done as a movement, and people would say that's impossible. We have proven that the impossible is possible. And what we need to do is we need to fight like the lives of animals depend on this, because literally millions and millions of animals' lives do depend on the actions that all of you take. There are 50 to 100 people in this town hall. If every single one of you take the actions that Leah put out, and you got one or two other people, I think we're going to win. But we have to be diligent and we have to take action. I saw one question that asked about Gillibrand. So everyone has 2 U.S. senators. Schumer obviously is the priority here in New York. Fortunately, when folks are emailing and calling, they are hearing from Gillibrand, where she has said that she is going to fight the Save Our Bacon Act and that she is opposed to it. However, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't continue reaching out. You need to continue reaching out to both of your senators, but the priority when it comes to pressure needs to be on Schumer's office right now. Alex, are there any other questions? I want to make sure that we get everyone's questions answered so that we don't miss anything.
Now, there's another question with regards to who are our allies in this fight? Who in the Senate have committed to opposing the Save Our Bacon Act?
Well, first, Leah, I'll turn it over to you to talk about the allies that are fighting against this from the advocacy side, and then I can talk a little bit about how we're looking in this.
I mean, there's a massive coalition. I'm actually organizing farmers and faith leaders to head up to DC in about 12 days. There's a lot of reasons to not want this to happen, not just from an animal welfare perspective, but from a stewardship perspective, from a fair market perspective. Every single animal organization is rallying. If you look on Instagram right now, if you look at restaurants, vegan restaurants, or farm sanctuaries, or animal rights groups, or environmental groups like Friends of the Earth or Sierra Club, they're all in it with us. They're all part of it because it sets a precedent. So there's, on the advocacy side, we have a wide group of people. We're still trying to widen it. I'm working on faith leaders and farmers to be part of it because that voice will matter. That voice will be different than animal protectionists.
And Leah, you mentioned that you're going to be doing a fly-in with faith leaders and farmers from Georgia. Why is Georgia important?
So, as I mentioned earlier, the bill will first be decided in the Senate Ag Committee, and there are about 24 senators that are on the Senate Ag Committee. Cancel half of them because they're Republicans and they're already saying they're in favor of keeping Save Our Bacon. So we're focused on the Democrat side. Klobuchar is the ranking member there. So Minnesota's, I mentioned, is really important. And Senator Smith is also from Minnesota, very important. But probably the second most important after the ranking member is Senator Warnock. Warnock is from Georgia. And he's critical. He's also a reverend and he is justice oriented. So I am flying up there with farmers and with faith leaders to make sure he knows how important it is to his constituents that he does not vote for the farm bill if it contains the Save Our Bacon language.
Thank you for doing that. I mean, it's the reason I asked is I want folks to know that there are a lot of people working on this. I've actually don't remember the last time that the animal protection movement has come together, but not just animal protection organizations. You've hit on this. There's groups that work on democracy issues. There's folks that, I mean, you talk about strange bedfellows.
Yeah.
There's a tremendous number of people that are in the MAHA movement that were fighting against the pesticide liability shield, which is another good example of what our Congress is trying to do, which not only are they trying to strip away states' rights from passing animal welfare and food safety laws, they're also trying to put a liability shield so that chemical companies can't be sued for causing cancer and other diseases and illnesses in people because of the toxins that they put out into the environment. It is ass backwards, but there are folks in the MAHA movement that are absolutely opposed to this as well, because again, a fundamental fundamental aspect of our country and our democracy is that everything that is not given to the federal government is reserved to the states. And that is a tremendous amount of power, because that is what our country is about, is that states have the right to make these decisions. Again, California, Massachusetts, and nearly a dozen others have said, we do not want pork, we do not want eggs, we do not want veal, and we do not want other products that come from cruelty. And they have the right to do that. The U.S. Supreme Court has said that they have a right to do that. And again, this is a back-ended attempt to strip those away. Alex, are there any other questions that we want to make sure that we get to?
Yeah, there's one question with regards to 2018 and the Farm Bill the last time around with the King Amendment, and what was the dynamics for the reason for being removed from the Farm Bill during that time period? Can folks provide some context there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, this is, I think, the third Farm Bill that we've been dealing with. Granted, the Farm Bill is what? Is it 3 years late? So 3 years late. I mean, I'm pretty sure that any of us that have jobs where if we were 3 years late on a project, we would be fired, but yet our congressional members continue taking a salary and benefits and whatnot. 3 year late Farm Bill, but there's been two Farm Bills where they've tried to pass this language. Particularly the last two Farm Bills where we've been able to be successful is because we had a champion in Michigan. We had a Senator Stabenow that was a tremendous champion and said, absolutely, she was the ranking member on the Ag Committee and just would not let that language fly. And we also just lived in a different time. I mean, if you think about 2018, 2019, how many of us would like to go back to that period of time in life? It's a whole different world. And so we had really strong champions on the Ag Committee, and this is why we need to influence Schumer. And we also need to influence Warnock and other folks that are on the Ag Committee. And so, Leah, I mean, we're asking people to take action in New York, but I'm pretty sure most people have family and friends in other states. So we're doing this similar town hall next Tuesday. You want to talk a little bit about that in the states that we're targeting and why?
Yeah, so if you all know anybody in Georgia or Minnesota or know somebody that knows somebody from those states, CIWF is organizing another town hall just like this one for folks from those two states. And we will be doing the same thing. Except in that one, what we're doing, as I mentioned, so Klobuchar is the ranking Democratic member on the Senate Ag Committee. She's probably the most important person for us to be influencing. And we haven't heard definitively from anyone, probably except Cory Booker and
Schiff.
Right. Yes. So those, we have two we have publicly made statements that they would not support the EATS Act, especially Schiff, who's from California. But really matters, like these states that are more agriculture based, like Georgia and Minnesota, we really need them to be stepping up. So we are organizing folks in those two states as our priority states. And if you know people from those states, please send them to this town hall and we'll do a similar briefing and we'll be asking them to contact senators. We really want like 50 people from each state to be like committed and they're not going to back down until we have an answer. 50 people can really make a difference. It would make the difference between, I think, it winning and losing if we can get 50 committed people in each state.
I can tell you right now, the 50 people that are here on this particular town hall, if you all take action and fight, like this is our last chance over the course of the next couple of weeks, we win. And if we can do that across multiple states, our chances of being successful, which I do believe we will be, are exponentially higher. I see a few California people have snuck into the New York town hall, and love our California people. I'm from California. Schiff is absolutely on board. He is on the agricultural committee. He is committed. I met with his office today, and he is going to do everything he can to keep this language out. But we need other members of the Democratic Party. We'd like to get people on the Republican Party as well to be opposed to this. And one thing about the Senate, it's important to remember, is that there is a filibuster requirement that bills like this get 60 votes. So this isn't just a simple majority, and they need 60 votes to be able to pass this. And that's why every member that we can get to sign on to opposing this makes a huge difference, because it closes that gap on that 60 votes that they would have to get to screw animals over.
And Matt, I just want to say that even though if your senator has even made a statement of a favorable statement, it's still good to call them and thank them and cheer them on because they do have a fight in front of them. They do have a big fight. And knowing that they have their like constituents, their team behind them, it's going to make a big difference. So I would continue to call senators no matter what, even after they commit, just to cheer them on in the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, can you put the information for Schumer back up, and then hold that up? And then, folks, if you want to take out your cell phone, if you want to take a screenshot, it'll give you an opportunity to do that. And then a couple seconds later, if you want to switch it over so folks can see the action alerts where they can take action, and also the social media handles that people can follow and share that information. Thank you for doing that. Let's see. Any other questions? Oh, should you be contacting other members on the Senate Ag Committee? My feeling is no. Ali, I think, like, actually, let me ask you. I mean, you've been working on this. Is it good for people to reach out to non-constituents to reach out to other members?
I don't think so. I think it's harmful and it just annoys the staff. And it also gives them an excuse to say, well, all the calls I got were from people that live in Kansas and I'm a senator in Georgia. So yeah, good intentions, but I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Leah, I have a question for you. I mean, if there's probably a few people in our movement that have been better at building coalitions and getting people activated to take action for animals. We have a question here from Megan that says, any suggestions for how to get family and friends who aren't following this issue to understand why this matters so much? So Leah, you're talking to someone who isn't an animal advocate. How do you get them to care?
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably know that person well, hopefully, and you find out what they care about. Because the thing with this issue is it will touch on a number of areas. So it will, if they care about fair markets, if they care about fair competition, this is unfavorable for smaller farmers who are working more sustainably because it allows for this cheap way of producing, this cruel way of producing to continue. And this, by banning this worst practice, it levels the playing field a little bit for the farmers that are doing it better. For someone who maybe cares about corporate capture, and a lot of people care about that right now. So in my state, for example, there's an uproar about data centers, about a Rivian manufacturing plant, about an ice facility being built. And it's both from like there's some kind of corruption happening here that's buying our government's votes, that's making the government write a law that doesn't benefit the people of a state. So you can find different avenues that will affect different people depending on what they care about. It's not just, this is about preserving democracy and voters' interests. Voters voted for this. And now there's corporate capture and an override and you can, maybe they don't want, people were in an uproar about China and TikTok. Like our politicians were screaming about TikTok and China. And now we've got a Chinese company that are buying their way into influencing which pork and how it's produced in our country. So you could just read up a little bit. We have a couple briefs that I'm sure Compassion Wolf Farming can send around that gives you kind of different talking points and just find the thing that they care about because there's a lot of things to care about with this bill.
And I've had a couple friends that have reached out to me that have reached out to their parents or their siblings or friends and family that are not involved in animal advocacy. And one thing you can also leverage is just saying, this matters to me. I mean, think about it I'm sure everyone here has a sister or a brother or a cousin or a family member that they love. And if they texted you or they called you and said, listen, this isn't an issue that's very important to me, and all I need you to do is make a phone call. All I need you to do is send an email. I think you would. But Ali, you said it best with, for all of you on this call and for all the friends and family that you have that you can talk to about this and get them to take action. What would you do? What lengths would you go to help a cat or an injured animal on the side of the road or in a park? What lengths would you go to help them? You'd spend hundreds of dollars. You'd miss work. You'd miss a class. You would go out of your way to ensure that one animal had everything that it needed. We're talking about the lives of literally millions of animals that are going to have a horrific life if they continue being trapped in cages. And your phone call, your email, your social media post could be the deciding factor. And I don't mean that lightly. Like what you do could be the deciding reason why Schumer decides, nope, we're not going to hear this. We're pulling it out. And that's the power that each of you have. So that's why it's so important for all of you to take action. So I know we're at 7:45. I don't think we have any other questions. If you want to throw them in real quick, we're happy to answer them. But I do want to leave a final moment for my good friend Allie and wonderful friend Leah to say any parting thoughts that they have before we wrap this up. I personally just want to thank all of you for taking an hour out of your night to care about farm animals. It means the absolute world to me, and you absolutely can make an impact on this issue. We are going to win this fight. It's just a matter of how much energy are you willing to put into it. So, Leah, I'm going to turn it over to you. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, this is our last hope. It won't happen without us, but we will defeat it if we all join forces and act.
Thank you.
Say, I know what it's like to wake up the day after an election or the day after a bill was voted on and lose by like one vote or a few hundred votes in the case of a local election. It's awful because then you spend the rest of your time being like, man, what could I have done differently? Like, don't let that happen here.
I don't think that there's any better way to end this than that thought. We will win this. Thank you so much to Allie and Leah for joining us tonight. Thank you for all of you for caring about farm animals enough to join us. Please take action. Here's the information, and Alex will be following up with all of you that registered, not only with the recording itself, but the information you need to take action over the next couple weeks. Thank you, everyone. I hope all of you have a wonderful evening. We will win this. We got this. Have a great night.